We continue now at the top of Daf Yomi Mesechet Kesuvos. This is Kesuvos Daf 85b. On the previous Amud, the Gemara was discussing the concept of Michsi Kashikra, meaning to say, let's say you have a star that at the time it was written, the events did not take place yet, but now at the time you're using it, everything in the star is true. Do we have a concern not to use that star because of Michsi Kashikra? And the Gemara brought a proof on the previous Amud and now says, Kashikra lo chashin, and you see from that case that we are not concerned with this issue of Michsi Kashikra. And the Gemara continues, Hahu Gavra Da'afket Shev Marganisa Detzari B'Sadina Beirev Miasha Bar Bereid Rav Yoshua ben Levi. There was an individual who he deposited 7 pearls, and they were in a sheet, and it was deposited by the house of Rav Misha Bar Bereid Rav Yoshua ben Levi. So Shachiv Rav Misha, so Rav Misha died, Velo Pocket, and he didn't leave any instructions regarding these pearls. And so now they were arguing, the Yarshim of Rav Misha and also the person who deposited it, they were arguing who should get these pearls. So Asul Lakame de Rabbi Ami, they came before Rabbi Ami. Amar Le, he said to them, Amar Lahu, he said to them, Chada number 1, the Adana Be Reb Misha Bar Bereid Rav Yoshua ben Levi, to Lo Amid, I happen to know about Reb Misha that he's not wealthy, so he would not have owned these pearls. V'od, and further, Hakayahiv Simona, this person who says he deposited the pearls, he's giving us a simon, so we have reason to believe him. And the Gemara points out, V'lo Amar Nel de Lo Rogel Da'ayil V'nafik Lahasam. We only say this is worth something if it's somebody who didn't always go into the house, didn't go over there. Aval Rogel Da'ayil V'nafik Lahasam. But if it was a person who regularly went into that area, Eimo Inish Achrina Afkid, so then we could say somebody else deposited it, V'iyu Michsa Chazan. He happened to see it, that's how he knows the simon. And the Gemara continues, how Gaver, there was an individual, the Afkid Kasa, the Chaspa Bechasa, that he deposited a silver cup by the house of Chasa, Shachav Chasa, Chasa died, Velo Pocket, and again, he did not leave any instructions. Also, Lakamed Rav Nachman, they came before Rav Nachman. Amar Luhu, he said to them, Yadana Bechasa, Delo Amid, I know about Chasa that he's not wealthy. V'yod HaKayav Simon, and furthermore, the person who says he deposited it, he's giving a simon, we should believe him. And again, the Gemara says, Velo Amar Nal Delo Rogil Da'ayil V'nafik Lahasam. We only say this in a situation where the person is not accustomed to going there. Aval Rogel Da'ayil V'nafik Lahasam, but if it's common for him to go over there, Ema Inish Achrina Afkid, we can say that somebody else really deposited it. V'iyu Michsa Chazan, he happened to see what it looked like. And the Gemara continues, Ahu Da'afkid Mitachsa Bei Rav Dimi, there was an individual who deposited silk by the house of Rav Dimi. Achud Rav Safra was the brother of Rav Safra. Shachav Rav Dimi died, Velo Pocket, and left no instructions. Asal Akamid Rabbi Abba, they came before Rabbi Abba. Amar Lui said to them, Chada number 1, the Adana Baby Rav Dimi, to Lo Am about Rav Dimi that he's not wealthy. V'od, and further, Hakayoiv Simon, again the person who says he deposited it, he's giving a simon. And again the Gemara says, V'lo Amernal Delo Rogel Da'ayil V'nafik Lahasam. We only say this in a situation where he doesn't normally go there. Aval Rogel Da'ayil V'nafik Lahasam, but if he goes there regularly, Eima Inish Achrina Afkid, then we can say that somebody else deposited it. V'iyu Michsa Chazan, he happened to see it. And the Gemara continues, Ahu Amar Lahu Nechasai Latuvia. There was an individual who said to people, he said, I want my property to go to someone named Tuvia. Shachiv, then he died, Asa Tuvia, and a person named Tuvia came, and he said, I should get the property. Amar Rabbi Yochanan said, Harei ba Tuvia, behold, Tuvia came. This is probably the right individual. But the Gemara says, Amar Tuvia, let's say the person says, I'm giving my stuff to Tuvia, Vyasa Rav Tuvia, and then somebody by the name of Rav Tuvia comes to claim the property. So the Gemara says, Latuvia Amar, Rav Tuvia lo Amar. He said Tuvia, he didn't say Rav Tuvia. We can assume those are different individuals. We should not give the property to Rav Tuvia. But the Gemara comments, V'inish de Gisbe ha Gisbe. Now, if he happens to be familiar with Rav Tuvia, and he would normally call Rav Tuvia, so then we can assume it's the same individual. And the Gemara continues, Asu Shnei Tuvia. What if 2 people come and they're both named Tuvia? Shachein v'Talmud Chacham. One of them happens to be a neighbor, and one of them happens to be a Talmud Chacham. So the Gemara says, Talmud Chacham Kodem, the Talmud Chacham takes precedence. And the Gemara says, Karav a Talmud Chacham. Let's say there's a relative that comes, and also a Talmud Chacham. Talmud Chacham Kodem, once again, the Talmud Chacham takes precedence. And the Gemara says, Iboy they have the following question, Shachin v'Karov Mai. What happens if you have a neighbor and a relative, they come, who takes precedence? And the Gemara says to that, Tashma, come in here a proof from a pasuk, Tov Shachin Karov Me'ach Rachok. A neighbor who's close by is better than a brother who is distant, and therefore the neighbor takes precedence. And the Gemara continues, Shneim Krovim, Ushneim Shechenim, Ushneim Chachamim. What if the 2 people, they're equal? They're both relatives, they're both neighbors, they're both Talmidei Chachamim. So in that case, Shuda Dedaini, then it is up to the discretion of the judges. And the Gemara continues, Amar le Rava libreid Rav Chia bar Avin. Rava said to the son of Rav Chia bar Avin, Ta imalach milsam al yusa dahava amar avuch. I want to tell you something nice that your father would say. Hadamar Shmuel, that which Shmuel said, Hamocher shtarchov lechaveiro v'chazro machlo machol. Shmuel said that if a person sells a document which is used to collect a debt, if he sells that document to his friend, but then he goes ahead and he's mochel the debt, he actually can forgive the debt. That actually works. V'afilu yoresh mochel, and not only that, even if it's not the seller himself who's forgiving the debt, even if it is the yoresh of the seller that is forgiving the debt, that will work. And so the Gemara now says, Moda Shmuel, so the statement made by Rav Chia bar Avin was that Shmuel admits, let's say I have a case where a wife, she's bringing in a document, she has a document, she's owed money, she brings it into the marriage to her husband, and then she goes ahead and she forgives the debt, in that case it is not going to be considered a forgiven debt, because there he has as much control as her, the husband has as much control as the wife, and therefore she is not able to forgive the debt. And the Gemara continues at the two dots, Karivte de Rav Nachman zvinta l'chsubasa betovas hana. The relative of Rav Nachman, she sold the right to collect her ksuba to somebody else. In other words, she said, if it happens to be that I get divorced, normally I'd collect the ksuba. I am now selling you that right. You're going to be the one to collect the ksuba should I get divorced. And then that's what happened, Igrisha. So then indeed she got divorced, Ushechiva. And then she also died. So Asu Katavi lo livrata. So then what happened was, they were now claiming the ksuba from her daughter. In other words, her daughter was the one that was supposed to get the ksuba instead of her. And so therefore the person who bought the rights of the ksuba is telling the daughter, I bought the rights of the ksuba, so I should receive the money. So Amar Lu Rav Nachman, so Rav Nachman said to them, Leka delisva lo eitza. There's nobody around to give her. There's some good advice you can give the daughter to enable her to collect the money. And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Pei Vav Amud Aleph.